No Planet B.
Angus and I even managed to get sort of simultaneously color-coded.
Ah, very good. And it's also a little bit of our logo, so you're really good at this. Very well, welcome to our second episode of Meet My Green Plus One.
If I'm a general, then I'm a radical general.
Warrior or mediator?
Oh, well, my answer is warrior.
I think that we need more warriors, but we also need true leaders. And this is when people are willing to step beyond their comfort zone and really bring people along with them on that journey.
We would argue that the environmental human nexus is worthy of that entry for the first time.
I'm looking for the banks to play a completely different role going forwards, and not be so much involved in financial gain.
So, very well welcome to our second episode of Meet My Green Plus One. My name is Judith, and as Managing Director, I introduce you to another great player from our community and his inspiring Plus One. Theme for this episode will be No Planet B. As we all know, we need to find better ways to save our environment, and especially in sustainable ways. But this is not that trivial as it sounds. So to help to understand the complexity of environment protection and how it's impact our daily life, I'm really happy that we invited one of our Green Awards jury members, Mark Griffiths. He's global leader at Climate Business of the WWF. And Mark, I'm so happy that you're here. So it would be great if you could introduce yourself.
First of all, thanks for the invitation, Judith, and really pleased to support this innovative initiative. So just as a quick recap, I actually attended the GREENTECH Festival last year in Berlin, and I was blown away by the professionalism and the energy and the number of people that attended this event. And that was really when I was, decided to get involved as much as I could to support the great work that you're doing. So in terms of what I do, I really try and help businesses become more sustainable and particularly try to achieve a net zero carbon position by no later than 2050. So the climate is clearly in a state of emergency, and we really need companies and businesses to step forward to understand how they can provide solutions to this problem and also decarbonize their own operations so we achieve this position as soon as possible. I'm also really keen to work with pioneering and innovative companies who want to go beyond this, which means actually removing carbon from our atmosphere, because unfortunately we know that some companies and some sectors are going to be slower than others. So really keen to work with innovative, highly sort of energetic companies to make this change.
Perfect. So now we're curious, who is your plus one and why did you pick him?
So Angus Forbes, Angus Formidable Forbes is my plus one, and I consider Angus an old friend and actually a brother in arms, so to speak, because I do feel that we are fighting a battle, a war, and I think Angus is certainly one of the generals in this war. He really is someone who brings a lot of positivity to the problem, but also meaningful solutions. So I think this is the other side of the coin, which is we can't keep talking about the problem. We've really got to look for solutions. So Angus has got a varied and very esteemed sort of career and background, and I'll let him introduce himself, but he comes with lots of solutions and great thinking.
Angus, so great that you joined. So it's your stage. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Judith, for inviting me to your program, and all the very best with GreenTech. And Mark, thank you so much for letting me be your Green Plus One, and also for such a kind introduction. I also think of you as a brother in arms and an old friend as well. If I'm a general, then I'm a radical general. I founded something called Global Planet Authority, which only advocates one thing, and that is that humanity should very seriously consider entering global governance for the first time, and to do so, to put in place an authority above the nation-state system that has sufficient power to deliver one function of utility, which is a biophysical integrity for the ultra-long term. So we contend that humanity now runs a biosphere, and we'll probably be doing that for the next 500 or 1,000 years. And we need to internalize that fact and evolve governance there too. So that's me.
Great. Thank you so much. And I would say we begin with a game, which means I will give you a pair and you decide for one of the pair and let us know why. And I think the first is pretty good because I know your both answers, I guess, already. So, warrior or mediator?
Oh, well, my answer is warrior.
As is mine. I would suspect, yeah, definitely Angus is a warrior. I think that we need more warriors, but we also need true leaders. And this is when, you know, people are willing to step beyond their comfort zone and really bring people along with them on that journey. And I would, again, equate the warrior to being that leader as well.
Perfect. Angus, anything to add from your side?
No, I think that I would just say, with regard to the word warrior, that I think we have two battles. One is to reduce our aggregate industrial metabolism as a race so that it is clearly below natural planetary metabolism, as defined by Professor Marley of Oxford University. So one is the immediate, the short term, reducing our aggregate industrial metabolism. That is one battle. The second battle, though, which I think is only just coming into view, is the long term, the intergenerational battle. When we have gone, what piece of governance do we leave in place to ensure that the biosphere is able to provide the ecosystem services necessary in the year 2300, 2500, and in 3020.
Good. So we go to the next one, plant or animal?
Oh.
Mark, maybe you will begin this time.
Okay. Wow. Probably animal, just because of emotion. I think I'm more attracted to that side of things. Although, you know, plants, and I often think about this. I mean, the trees that we walk past every day in the street are going to out-survive us, hopefully. But there is this tree which is relatively innate, but obviously is a growing thing. And I have huge respect for that natural world, but I'm probably more attracted to animals per se, being one, and hopefully, behaving as a good animal.
I think so. Angus, what is your answer?
Just variety, I'll go for plant then.
Because you have a project, right?
Sorry?
You have a special project on plants. I guess it's regarding the rainforest. I did my research.
Certainly, thank you, Judith. Certainly, I, for a very short time, was the first director of the Prince's Rainforest Project, which, you know, was a super opportunity I had. I only did it for 4 or 5 months because I was always leaving for Australia. The Prince of Wales chose to champion the rainforest. This was back in 2007, because he felt that it was the quiet component of carbon release. Everybody was immediately jumping onto transport, coal, thermal coal, gas, etc. But of course, rainforest clearing was, I think at that time, about 7.5% of global emissions or something like that. And it was the smallest component, so he thought he would champion that. So I'll leave it with that little story on plant.
Very good. Global or local?
My response to that
That's a tough one.
Well, I'm going to mix the two, which is go local.
Oh, very nice.
So I honestly do try and practice this, which is try and think about, we obviously face, global issues and problems, but really these are ultimately felt at a local level. And it's really important to be sort of basing our solutions at people who are at the coalface. And it's true that even through the COVID crisis, the people most affected are going to be the poorest in our societies and the people who are voiceless. And this is where we, again, should be putting lots of effort and investment into. The same with the climate emergency. We at WWF often think about how do we help, people and the planet, and we talk about nature and people all the time. And it's really important to have this local foundation and understanding in order to have a global impact.
That's true. Angus?
Well, I'll go for global. But in championing the word global, I will automatically recognize that environmental work is predominantly localized, and it is people on the ground who do the work. Saying that, we have a void in global governance. Humans have never entered global governance as yet. We've stopped at the nation state. To be pedantic, that's where 1648 and the national sovereignty that came out of the end of that religious war. And we've stopped at the nation state. We've added bilateralism, we've added multilateralism, and we've added the UN, but it's always been at the horizontal level. And there is this extraordinary void just above that humanity has never stepped into. And we would argue that the environmental human nexus is worthy of that entry for the first time. And what's incredibly exciting is that in 2022, 5 billion of us will be online. 33 years after Tim Berners-Lee wrote the computer program HTML and gave us the World Wide Web. It was only 750 million people online in the year 2000. But in 2 years' time, it will be 5 billion. So the connected global citizenship, capable of allocating their personal sovereignty for the first time, as our forebears did, is extraordinary. So humanity now has the opportunity to go into global governance if we choose to. And I think it's necessary to protect the biosphere properly on a 500-year view.
Great. Just come to the next one. Swarmfish or lone wolf?
Is it swamp fish?
Swamp.
Or lone wolf? What is the characteristic of a swamp fish, Judith? Is it a herd, like a swarm fish? So they swarm together?
Yes.
Mark, after you.
Wow. I think I'm going to go lone wolf. And yeah, I just, there's actually a really good, it's a Bushman saying, which is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with your tribe. And you probably heard different variations of that, but for sure the Bushmen who are, world famous for survival, and and also living in communities that are self-sufficient. I think we can learn a lot from them. So I would probably go the lone wolf for that reason. I like the concept to go, but clearly you have to work in the community. So I'm also attracted to the Swarmfish and getting the crowd involved. But that would be my take.
Angus.
Yeah, I'll go for Swarmfish on this because I was just talking about the 5 billion, and what we've computed is that just 50 million people govern and enforce the nation-state system because we're an efficient species. Humans are very efficient. So we have 21 million soldiers in the world, and we have about 25 million people running the upper echelons of the nation-state. So those two add up to 50 million. And yet we, as a swarm, are going to be 5 billion. So the ratio is 100 to 1. And in histories of revolutionary change, it was 26 to 1 in 1776, when America was founded. It was 50 to 1 in 1994 in South Africa. It was 100 to 1 in 1917 in Russia, 100 to 1 in 1790 in France, and 300 to 1 in 1947 in British Raj, India. So we have just arrived as a swarm of global citizenship at the magic number of 100 to 1. So if we choose to go into global governance, we can do it now.
So if we talk about global governance, Green Deal or no deal?
Ooh. There's only one choice there. It's got to be the Green Deal. So, yeah, I mean, I think this Green Deal is spoken about quite broadly, obviously in the EU and then in the US as well, and popping up in variety of countries and the sort of political debate. But I really think that it's vital that it's seen as part of how we rebuild post-COVID. So this needs to be baked in. So we absolutely must not lose the opportunity to ensure that we invest in green infrastructure and really build back better, as opposed to bailing out the bad old or the business as usual. So for sure, I'm a big supporter of the Green Deal, and it's got to happen.
Angus.
I'd go for Green Deal as well. I concur completely with Mark. However we do it, we have to reduce our aggregate industrial metabolism, whether it be in growth phases or slowdown phases, fiscally or otherwise. We just got to lighten right across the board. So, yeah, I concur.
Very good. So hopefully a fun one, because it's a little bit of your biography, Angus. Bank or money stock?
So that's bank or money stock?
Bank or money stock? Just
bank or money stock. So is that the money stock? Does that mean sort of putting money on your mattress?
Yes.
Oh, okay, money on it. I see. Yeah. Okay, bank or money stock. Okay, so we're talking about cash. Yeah.
Angus, would you like to start? Because I know you have a history when it comes to banking.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Yes, so my history was that I was in the City of London for 20 years on what we call the sell side, stockbroking, and on the buy side, fund management. So I know a little bit about capital allocation. So the question of bank or money stock, whether I'd have money stored under the mattress, that's quite. I mean, I'll be inflammatory because it is fun. I'll go for the money. I think worryingly, I'm afraid, the total global debt to GDP being at 320, 330% is abnormal. It is like a large souffle. We have had a spurt of 35, 40 years, which is probably above its normal range. And a lot of that's been fueled by debt. And so you would think that we'd probably have a normalisation back to maybe 200% debt to GDP. So I'd like to keep some spare cash under the mattress or in the sock.
Mark?
I'm a bit torn. I mean, I think that just banks and the financial services system has not served us well of late. And this is where I think there's a huge opportunity for banks to start doing what they were set out to do, which is helping businesses grow. And that means through sort of their loan book, helping stimulate things that benefit society. And that means the environment as well. So I think I'm looking for the banks to play a completely different role going forwards, and not be so much involved in, financial gains to maximize return. It should be about, value adding to society and to the environment. And we are seeing banks really looking at ESG, so environmental, social, and governance in a much stronger way, which is good. But they've got a lot of work to do on that front. And I think people through this crisis have realized that they need to manage their own finances, which means they do need to have money under the mattress, and many people don't. So we will see a really difficult situation in the coming months with a global recession that's emerging. So money stock is a good idea, unfortunately.
All right, guys, we are already done. I have one last question, which is not a pair. So I would like to know, what is your vision for our environment in 2050?
After you, Mark.
So the thing that we've got to do is live in harmony with nature. And I think part of that is really this understanding that we are not apart from nature. We are part of it. Because I think where we're going wrong is we kind of detach ourselves from nature. And I think if we're able to consciously come together as a species and understand that we are part of a much bigger system, and if we look after that system will look after us. So that means our biosphere, that means all our ecosystem services, so the rivers, the forests, the sea, the things from which we all benefit. If we can really consider that we are part of that system, and if we destroy those systems, we destroy ourselves. So I'm hopeful that we get to a higher level of consciousness and really value them appropriately.
Great answer. Angus?
Yeah, I would completely agree with what Mark said. We are the first 3 generations alive to know that we run a biosphere. Humanity has never run a biosphere before. And I say that in that we can affect nearly every part except for the amount of sun radiation hitting the Earth, but we could probably even contemplate affecting that as well. So if we just think about it, we can alter ozone using bromine or CFCs. We can alter the CO2 molecules in the troposphere, as we know, by burning fossil fuels. We can acidify or put plastic into oceans and remove all fish. We can remove all rainforests. We can dam every river. We can suck dry every aquifer. We could probably even cement over the Mediterranean Sea if we really put our minds to it. And that is because at 7.6 billion people, with our chemical processes, our mechanics and physics, we are so potent, and we've never been in that position before as a race. So we now have to internalize that and understand that ceteris paribus, that is the known future, that power. So as we live our lives, yes, we need to reduce the industrial metabolism I talked about earlier, but we also need to visualize the next 30 or 50 generations that are to come. And they're looking at us now and saying, you were the first 3 generations alive to realize humanity's power and how we had entered the running of a biosphere with Mother Nature for the first time. So what did you do in governance? What power did you release? What structure did you put in place to ensure that the biosphere had a life-supporting integrity for 500 or 1,000 years? And that is what I think we'll do in the next 30 years. We will enter global governance to ensure that that is a constant for the known future.
Perfect. So I guess we know there's a lot of work to do, and we have to start now, right? Guys, thank you so much. It was fun, hopefully also for you. And I can tell you, this was very inspiring. Angus, I know you have a book. Anything we should do on promoting or something?
Judith, you're so kind. Yes, there's a book, Global Planet Authority. It's on Amazon. Order it today. Unless you're in France, you've got to wait a few days because, of course, the French government and Amazon are having a little argument right now. But everywhere else, you can get the book, and it's inexpensive. It can be delivered to your door, and it only takes 3 hours to read. And it's called Global Planet Authority.
Okay, perfect. So that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Judith.
And it was a lot of fun.
Well done for organizing. Thanks, Judith.
Yeah,
and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Judith. Take care.
Bye, guys.